Welcome to Traditional Thursday. I'm Connor Wilson from Lax All-Stars, here to tackle some traditional stringing questions and, talk about the old school way of putting together a lacrosse pocket. We got a great email question from Christian Griffith, who says he's a big fan of the show. He said, I'd like to do the floating sidewall that you've used, but I wasn't that successful. I ran into some problems with placement and movement of the sidewall. Do you have tutorial on that? Well, let's talk about it. So I've got a stick where I've got one sidewall set up normally and the other set up as a floating sidewall. This is a Gate M4. Okay, there you've got the floating sidewall, and this one is a floating sidewall that has then been tied down by a second sidewall. Now, originally this pocket was in a wider head. It was in a Proton Plus, which I broke almost immediately. It was an old stick. That happens. You get it from Play It Again Sports for $9. Sticks break. Such is life. So I put it in this, which is a brand new head. A little narrower, so I didn't find that I actually needed the floating sidewall. What I find the floating sidewall is allows that pocket to come in a little bit. You can kind of see it like that. Okay. It gives you a little better channel. See how it's just inside? And that does make a difference, okay? When you have the pressure of the ball in there, again, it's not a lot. It's probably 2 millimeters, maybe a centimeter at the most. It's really, it's not much. 2 millimeters might not be much, but you're not getting a ton, okay? As opposed to this side where it's firmly latched down. Now for placement, I usually put it a little lower, okay, so that the sidewall isn't going, from the top to the bottom. It's really going from a little bit lower to a little bit higher, okay? And that keeps it along this flatter part of the stick, which allows this piece of string to stay a little tighter. A trick you can use is if you take an already strung traditional head, okay? Here's an Easton Stealth, okay? This is a core head, okay? So you take this sidewall and you take each loop out one by one, and you'll feed that floating sidewall through. The other key that I've found for a floating sidewall, if you really want to do it well, is to lock down your shooting strings. Okay, so on this one, I'm not going to float this sidewall, so I've actually I'm not letting this one touch the plastic. But usually with a floating sidewall, I'd have my nylon, I'd have this shooting string, and this shooting string would all be attached to the plastic, and that's going to kind of anchor that pocket down a little bit. So I hope that helps. Again, I try and make my floating sidewalls a little shorter. Try and keep them along that flat part of the sidewall, here to here. And I'm going to lock down all of my shooting strings. And that'll kind of keep my pocket in place. So Christian, I hope that helps. Next question we got is from Eric F. All right, he says he's been stringing a lot of sticks, a lot of traditional sticks for his high school team. They've been coming out pretty well. He's been doing this for about a year. The problem is that the ball gets completely caught in the scoop, and they end up shooting behind him or to the side or something like that. He says, I've tried everything from heavy top nylon shooters to 3U shooters. Any tips on how to stop this from happening? It's a good question. So what you really want to do, and this is extremely important in traditional, if you don't graduate your shooting strings, you are going to get a really sort of bag up top right here, right? And the ball is just going to sit under there. When you really reach back, crank forward, that ball's going to sit there. It's going to go straight in the ground if you're shooting overhand, or behind you if you're shooting sidearm. So first off, I would say shoot overhand. That always helps. The second thing you want to do is really focus on graduating your shooting strings. So up here, I'm going to put a nylon up top, almost always. Sometimes it's a sidewall, sometimes it is cross lace, sometimes it's top string. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're getting what you feel is an appropriate pop and snap off of it, then that's fine. I'm also going to take this next one down, okay, my first hockey lace, and I'm going to lock that onto the plastic as well. And it's going to be reasonably tight. I can push on it and it has a little give. Okay, the next one I'm probably not going to lock down to the sidewall. Sometimes I will. But in this one I haven't, okay? And this one is really pretty loose. Okay, it's my last shooting string. I like a little bit of whip and a good amount of hold on my sticks. So, I only use 3. Some guys, if you're really running into this problem, you would consider putting in a 4th shooting string. Okay, so maybe you're going to lock down the top 3, and then the last one is just going to kind of be floating in there as a placeholder. For traditional, that can make a big difference, just in the smoothness of that release and the ball not getting stuck. So the biggest thing I would say to focus on, make sure that your top one is tightest, but not tight. It shouldn't be like a tight rope across the top, but it should be kind of static. It doesn't get pushed in very far, and it starts to hold pretty quickly, but at the same time, when it's just sitting there, you don't touch it, and it doesn't feel tight. Okay, this next one really is almost the exact same tightness, but because it's a cotton shooting string, it's going to stretch a little bit more. Okay, and then this one will be a little looser, and this one, if you put in that 4th shooter, should be very loose. And really just sitting there. So I hope that this helps. If you do run into these problems, sometimes you can try pulling these down, the tabs on the back, okay, retightening your leathers. If you get kind of bunching up here, that can happen too. So those are some good suggestions. If that doesn't help, send in some photos, okay? Maybe I'll print them out and hold them up for you. So, Eric, I hope that this advice helps. Welcome to another Traditional Thursday. If you guys have questions about traditional stringing, even questions about mesh, I guess we could answer those too, but I'd rather stick to the traditional stuff. Shoot them into us, info@lacrosseallstars.com. We want to hear what kind of questions you guys are having, what kind of problems you're running into, and how we can help. So let us know, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. Hopefully you'll be able to do something like this too. Before we go, I'm going to show off a quick traditional string job. This is going out. This is a great use of chopsticks, actually. If you have extra chopsticks, they're great for stretching out pockets. This is going out for George Rohosny. I think he's going to love this. Roho, this one's coming out for you. Took a little extra time, but it's going to be worth it. And just a little further proof that I still know how to string mesh and goalie pockets. Matt Wheeler of Lacrosse Recruits is getting hooked up with this. It's pretty sweet. Did the die, did the string job. This is Ninja Mesh. Wheeler's going to love this. I don't know what kind of stick it is. It's some old Warrior stick. Whatever. He's old school, I guess. Throwing it back, 2005 style. So, have a great day. If you guys have traditional questions, shoot them into us. info@lacrosseallstars. I'll see you next time. I'm Connor Wilson for Lax All Stars. Thanks so much. See you.